begins tomorrow on NBCSN. Who will advance to the championship four with a victory coverage begins at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. And once again, joining us in the broadcast booth for part of the telecast is going to be Dale Jr. Mike Massaro.
And catching up with Carl Edwards of the 19 team, Rick, this practice was one that Dave Rogers told me they were just going to use to A and B some things, kind of shake some things down. They, like so many others, were looking forward to the second practice today, but it's certainly a good thing they went out there. During that course of that last run, well, Carl said he felt like he may have broken a shock, and sure enough, in between runs, they've changed the right front shock on that car. Didn't look broken when it came off the car, but obviously Carl didn't like something he felt, Steve.
Well, and when you say, when a driver said, hey, I've broken a shock in the race, I would think, okay, maybe it's broken. It's no longer connected to the car. But in practice, sometimes, I know, Jeff, you're going to find this hard to believe, but a driver will exaggerate a touch and basically is saying that the corner is not working as good as it should, or it feels like it's broken even though it's not. When they took the shock off there, they were messing with the adjuster. These shocks not only have, they're rebuildable, and they have the bump stop on the shock, but they also, down at the lower part, have adjustment where you can make them either rebound adjustable or compression adjustable. And I have seen the adjustment side either move, break. We talked about how hot the brakes were. Well, that brake rotor is less than an inch away from that shock eyelet, and sometimes the temperature can make it do some funny things. Remember, they're hydraulic. Shocks are hydraulic. There's O-rings in there, seals, and there can be a failure with temperature.
I've heard people mention when they adjust them a click, 2 clicks.
Yeah, so basically there need to be a sweep or a click, and all anybody needs to understand is that the amount you adjust them. But the problem is when you build something adjustable, while it's easier to use, it becomes more complicated, and there's more of an issue for failure.
Yeah, the word broken is used a lot in this sport, but it's not necessarily broken. It just doesn't feel as
I've won with some broken cars.
As it needed.
Like, it's broken, so
every
never make the corner.
What you're saying is you feel like the car might be broken, and that might be an Are you agreeing with him that drivers sometimes exaggerate?
I think exaggerating was a good way to say it.
It's the helmet, Rick. When they put the chin strap on, I think it cuts oxygen off, and they just start to yell at you.
And then Gucci's for heads, that's they squeeze their head.
I was gonna say you've got to respond to that. There can't be that can't be left out there.
But when you're here to win the race, right?
That's right.
And things aren't going the way it needs to feel, and you're 0.2 of a second off, and 0.2 of a second doesn't sound like much, but that's a universe away from where you need to be. Something is broken. Like there's something maybe wrong.
And that intensity, as much as it can frustrate a crew chief or a team at times, I would much rather have that than one that's just okay with being average. You don't want a driver that's okay with the goal is to win. Like nothing would frustrate me more than, and it still does when I hear these drivers get out after practice and their 15's quick, and they say, we think our car's pretty good. I want to call them. I say, no, it isn't. Your 15's quick. You're not going to be good enough tomorrow.
Well, we heard McMurray yesterday after qualifying. He didn't, he didn't do as well as he wanted to do, and he said, well, we have a good race car. But of course, that's what everybody says when you don't qualify well, and that's true. Like you're trying to rationalize why you qualified bad because you have a good car to race. But guess what? The cars that qualified well, they also have a good car to race.
This was the last car, Kyle Busch was the last car to go on the track. He was almost 30 minutes in before we hit on the racetrack. Unlike Jamie McMurray, he's run 50 laps already, Rick.
Yeah, Jamie McMurray went out early, put a long run together, has come back out again. And when I mentioned long runs, he's currently third on the 10-lap average and third on the 15-lap average. So when he says he has a good race car, it seems like he's backing it up with these lap averages that he continues to put big long runs together.
But Jeff, you'll understand this as well as anyone. The problem with Martinsville, or the challenge with Martinsville, is how are the last 50 or 100 laps going to be raced? And what I mean by that is, do you work on a car that runs good on new tires? It drives really well, it turns really good, it runs good for, say, 15 or 20, 25, 30 laps? Then you're going to be great if it comes down to short runs. But normally those cars are not good on a long run, and it could come down to an 80-lap run. So there are times, Jeff, where I look back at history, and really, when you look at the 48 versus the 11, in all these races they have run 1-2, I arguably could swap who won just by the length of the final run. It was just, how is the last 100 laps of this race going to be ran?
Yeah, a car that's really good on a long run typically is way too tight for the first 5 laps of a restart. You can't get it to turn. So what do you want? Long runs, short runs?
We take a look at the 15-lap average. Truex Jr. topping this chart, McMurray third.